And I really hope you understand that until you are okay with the effort that you're putting out, until you are okay with you, nothing you do will be okay or enough for no one else. Nothing. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. Until you're okay with the effort, until you're okay with you and what you bring to the table, no one else is going to be satisfied with it. That's just a hardcore truth.
Positive energy and good vibrations from me to you. You have now tuned in to the Imperfect Fathers Podcast.
Yo, what it do? What it do? Positive energy. Meeting. What's going on? Kings and boy, RjD the Imperfect Gentleman. And yeah, this is another dope episode of the Imperfect Fathers Podcast. I hope everybody's having a phenomenal day, week, month, year, life. That is my prayer as usual, man. Listen, as usual, we have things that we do on this podcast, but we're going to do things a little bit differently, man. This is a new season. I'm extremely excited about it. I'm extremely excited about the direction this podcast and this whole network is taking. So before I get ahead of myself, let me do my due diligence and talk to the pops upstairs and, do what we know we must do around here before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show. So with that being said, gracious and eternal Father, it's your boy again. I'm so grateful to be where I am right now. I'm so grateful to be in the mental space that I am right now, because that is what matters most, oh God. And I thank you right now for protecting me, helping me keep my mental together, because I know without you, it's almost impossible, God. And right now, I ask you to look over me as I go across the airway, that I may say something, be a vessel to help one of your men out there be a better version of themselves, God. But not just themselves, but for their generations and generations to come, God, for their lineage and their legacy. These are my prayers. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. In the matchless name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So that has been taken care, out of the way, and now it's time to get busy. So around the podcast, y'all, I've done some new things, right? I've decided to segment the show a little differently. I've decided to come at you guys just a little different, to give you guys a little breakdown of the show. We're going to start having react time, right? Watching react moments, just to be a little bit of an icebreaker before the show really gets underway. And then I'm going to throw in a part of the show that I've been holding out on, that I really love. And anybody who knows me knows that I love basketball. So we're going to throw some basketball talk in there. And then we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of the show. We're going to get to the topic at hand. And then after the topic at hand, I'm going to have words to my kids and then the closing remarks. So the show has a new flow to it. I hope you like it. Let me know down in the comments how y'all feel about it. And while we're even talking about it, do me a favor, man. Like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. Right now, that I think that we're only at let me not say only. We are at a strong 175 subscribers. Man, do me a favor. Let's get the subscribe to at least 200, right? Let's bump that up to 200 subscribers, man. I really do appreciate each and every one of y'all who takes this time to check this podcast out. It really means a lot to me and to this community I'm trying to serve, man. So with that being said, let's get down to the watch and react portion of the show. And today we're going to do a post. It's not going to be a video this time. It's going to be a post that I posted on my social media. And the post, when I put it up in with the intent to pretty much get at us fathers, right? Get at us and say that, yo, listen, we got to step up in certain areas, because these are our statistics. These are the facts. And to my surprise, right, a little disheartened, right? To my surprise, that I had a lot of pushback from a lot of my women in the comments. So before I go on, let me show you guys the post. All right. Let's read it. Toxic masculinity. 43% of boys are raised by single mothers. Let's take a stop right there. I myself was raised by a single mother. Me personally. I am a father now who's a fatherless father, right? So I pretty much know what it feels like to be in this situation. But let me digress and get back to the reading. 78% of teachers are females. That's a fact. 78% of the teachers in our country are females, are women. There is no lie there, and there is no attack there. I want to be very clear. There is no attack on women at all. If you feel attacked in with that statement, anyway, we'll address that later. So close to 50% of boys have 100% feminine influence at home and 80% feminine influence at school, right? So close to 50% of boys have 100% female influence at home and 80% influence of female influence at school. I'm sorry, feminine. Toxic masculinity isn't the problem. The lack of masculinity is. Now, I've had these these last couple of days of me doing some posts on my social media. I've been really engaging with people, and I've, for the most part, been pretty pleased with the response and the outpour of comments and their thoughts and those things. But I was very, very shocked at how many women felt attacked by that post. So, because I was so shocked, I had to really take the time to do my introspective work on my own self, right? Like, let me see, where am I bugging? Am I reading this wrong? Like, am I not seeing something here? So, once you begin to rack your brain, it's a great idea to bounce the idea off someone else or a few people. So that's what I did. I began to send this out to different people and begin to get their inputs on the post. And I was shocked to realize that it wasn't the fact that the post is wrong. It's people are reading it and stopping before they get down to the bottom of it. So yes, let's go back to it for a second. If I was to sit here and just read 43% of boys raised by single mothers, right? 78% of teachers are females, right? If I stop right there, I still don't see where the attack is, right? So close to 50% of the boys have 100% feminine influence at home and 80% feminine influence at school. So I still, as I read through this, even if I stop, I still don't see where you felt attacked at. But my conclusion was, after speaking to a few different people of both sexes, right? Man and woman, I've come to the realization that if you read this and you're offended by any means and you're triggered by any shape, form of the imagination, that's a personal issue you have. Because I'm simply saying to the men in this post that we got to do a better job at being present. Because there's no reason why our young boys are not being more affected by our masculinity in the homes, number one, and number two, in the schools. Now, yes, granted, for the whole thing about men in schools, if you are a single young man and you have a heart for children, go out there, young man, and be a teacher. Please, by all means, be a teacher, because you're going to help us out tremendously. I go down to my own kid's school and I mentor and I help out around there, and just my presence alone changes things and dynamics of how the young boys act and walk around the school building. So yes, by all means, please go out there. But to the man who's already has a family, I can't really fault him for not wanting to be a teacher, because hell, he can't support a family on a salary. He can't. It's almost impossible for a man to provide for a whole family on a teacher's salary. Now, if they begin to raise that salary and give our teachers what they deserve, yes, I think there will be a lot more husbands, right? A lot more fathers becoming teachers, getting back into the school systems. And let me tell you something. If that begins to happen, the world we live in will begin to change. I truly, wholeheartedly believe that if we as men get back into the school systems and getting back into our positions in our homes, the world around us will change for the good. So that was my little rant. And please tell me down in the comments if I'm wrong. Please help me out. Let me see something. Give me some insight. Like, I'm by no means am I above being corrected or being shown something. By all means, please do show me, because I don't want to be offensive or triggering. But the truth is, there's gonna be some things that I say I'm gonna trigger some people. But I'm saying this to you because you're my audience. I'm not worried about the people who are not my audience. That's the one thing that if I sit here and be honest about, is that the reason why I took so long to get back to the podcast, because I was so worried about people who are not my audience. My true audience is you, right? The ones that keep coming back every week, that check out for me, that write me down in the comments, that hit me in the DM, that come over on Instagram and check me out. Those are my real people. That's my real squad. And I love each and every one of y'all. And I appreciate y'all. Because what y'all don't know is the last couple of months, your boy has been going through a lot of things. And I'm not saying that to get your empathy or your sympathy. Well, a little bit I am. I could use some of it, because let me tell you, some of this crap is hard. Life got hands. But I'm letting you know that I'm saying that to say this. We have to understand that we're all human and we're all going through some things. And we can't be ashamed of when we're going through these things, right? And we have to stand our ground on what we believe on. So I'm going to stand my ground on what I believe on, and what I believe in, rather. And what I believe in is, as men, we got to stand in our position, get in our rightful position So everyone else that's going to follow us, right? The ones that are going to follow us can follow us. And the ones that are not, hey, listen, more power to you over there. And that's what we have to be comfortable with saying and feeling and doing. So now that we got that out the way, let's talk some of this good old basketball talk. Yo, listen. Well, I want to take this moment, right, and give a special shout out to those Denver Nuggets for winning this year's NBA championship. Let's give it up for them, yo. We got to give it up for those Denver Nuggets, man. Yo, because truthfully, their journey was pretty prolific. You know what I mean? Like, I got to say, those guys in Denver definitely they didn't go under the radar. And that's what I guess what makes this championship so dope as well, because people knew they were coming and they still couldn't do nothing with them. Right. So everybody knows I'm a LeBron fan, right? There's no secret there. So this year I was riding with LeBron as I always do. And when it got to the series between Denver and LA, I began to watch basketball on that deep level that I like to dive into. I started watching how easy Denver's offense began to flow. And the positions in where Denver's offense ended up getting their key players their patented shots, right? See, it's one thing to draw up on offense to get someone to score the basketball, and there's another thing to draw an offense up to get someone to score the basketball in their spots, in their comfort areas, in their zones of comfort, right? As I began to watch the game of basketball between the two teams, I began to see the ease in which Denver scored, right? Now, if you've been watching the games, there wasn't too much of a blowout happening in the series, but in the ways in which Denver scored the basketball really showed me like, yo, if something doesn't change for LA defensive wise or mindset, if something doesn't switch for them, they might not make it through the series. And as the series progressed, I began to see how Jokic began to get to his spots easily. Especially Murray beginning to get to his spots, his pull-up jumpers. One game, he was flat out ice cold at the end of the game to where no one could stop him. And I really accredit that to their team, as well as to their coaching staff, man, because let me tell you, those plays and the position that coach was putting them gentlemen in was making it real easy for them to execute. And shout out to LeBron and the Lakers. As long as they are and as defensive minded as they are, they couldn't do nothing with Denver. And just hats off to Denver, man, because after they got through the Lakers and they got down to the championship, man, they really showed they showed Boston what time it was, right? And I'm sorry, they showed Miami what time it was. Like, I thought to myself that Miami had a chance, they had a fighting chance. They looked like they had a little bit of fight left in their tank, because let's just be honest, Miami fought their way into the playoffs. So the fact that they got themselves all the way to the chip, man, they hats off to Miami, because like I said, I did not expect them to do it. And the fact that they got there after being a play-in team, I completely take my hats off to Miami and I give them all the credit in the world. But they just came up against a better team, better players, and they were better coached. And that's not a slight against Eric Spoelstra, because he's a phenomenal coach, but he was just outgunned. He was just outweaponed on this one, man, because Denver's lineup, their starting lineup and their bench was cooking. But shouts out to Denver, man, and what they pulled off, their first championship in the NBA, man. I'm proud of them boys over there, man. Shout out to you guys over there in Denver, man. But now let's talk a little bit about this trade talk, man. So, yo, what do y'all think about Kristaps Porzingis going to the Celtics, man? Yo, that's big. They got rid of Marcus Smart. That is big, man. That is big. Now, I got a little bit of a question, though. You got rid of Marcus Smart, who was literally, I believed, from me watching the game, was their floor general, right? That got the offense moving and all that. So I don't know. I'm a little curious about losing Marcus Smart, but man, Kristaps Porzingis, man, that's a great pickup in my eyes, man. Boston's gonna have Jalen as of right now, because I don't know what's gonna happen by the time this episode airs. Right now, as I'm looking at it, they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown still, and they adding Kristaps Porzingis. Ooh, that's not a bad three. I'm just worried about who's gonna get that offense started. Who's gonna get that floor general position and really move that rock around. I know they do still have Marcus Brogdon, if I'm not mistaken, so he could be sliding into that spot. But overall, I think that was a great trade for Boston. And yo, as per Washington, those guys are really just clearing house, because another blockbuster trade that went down is Bradley Beal is going to the Phoenix Suns for Chris Paul. But from what I'm seeing in that deal, I think it's going to be a little bit of maneuvering for what I've witnessed in the last couple of days, because if I'm not mistaken, they're saying that Chris Paul potentially might be going to Golden State. Now, that right there is something to talk about. But before we get to that, let's talk about Bradley Beal going to Phoenix. Yo, so it's going to be Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Ayton, right? Those are the core four right now. And I put Ayton in there. I know y'all probably looking at me sideways, like, you calling Ayton part of the core? Yes, because the young man is gifted. If he comes to play and stop pouting, listen, he's a problem. So I believe that this new energy coming around there, Bradley Beal being put in the mix, I think there's a lot of interest and a lot of sparks are going to fly up out of that Phoenix area. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. So shout out to my man Bradley Beal and those guys over at Phoenix. But let's talk about my man Chris Paul for a second. Yo, I don't know. Chris Paul might be on that Reggie Miller, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley great list that just don't get the ring, man. I don't know. I don't want to put that on my guy. I don't, because Chris Paul, I love him as a point guard. I used to hate him a little bit because I thought he was a dirty player, but I began to look and watch him closely and just realize he's very crafty. And he do got a little bit of dirt and a little nastiness to him, but that makes me like him a lot as well. So I just believe that Chris Paul is now at this stage of the game and of his career is a phenomenal backup, but as Phoenix, and has he shown in the last couple of years, like, yo, he's not really reliable, right? He's not really durable. He's gotten hurt at the most unopportune times for the last two teams he's played for, right? He's got hurt for Phoenix in the playoffs. He's been hurt for Houston in the playoffs. And hell, let's go back to even when he was in New Orleans. He got hurt in New Orleans in the playoffs. So, my man, Chris Paul, I pray that you do go somewhere. And I believe that Golden State is a phenomenal space for you to attempt to get a ring, man. Especially if Draymond Green doesn't leave, right? And let's talk about that a little bit. Draymond Green has not accepted his contract extension, right? He is now testing the free agency market. And from what the rumors are saying, that he might be interested in tag teaming with his buddy LeBron, right? That could be pretty big, man. LeBron having someone like Draymond on his team to do the nasty work, to help clean up on the boards, to move the ball around, facilitate, and to do the things that we don't see on camera, right? In the locker room and things of that nature. I really believe that if Draymond goes to LA, that might really shake up a lot of things in the West, man. So let's keep our eyes on Draymond. And before we go on any more basketball talk, I want to take a moment to take a shout out to a guy who was in the league for 17 years that decided to take his shoes off and hang them up and retire, man. Shout out to my guy, the sixth man of the year, Lou Williams, man. Shout out to my guy, Lou Williams. Heck of a career, man. Listen, the man was a bucket, right? Sweet Lou is what they call him. Hey, and let me tell y'all something. I've watched him throughout his whole career. I loved him a lot, especially when he was in Atlanta. And something about him off the court, man. One day, I was in my travels doing my thing. I believe I was going to New York for whatever reason, right? And it was an early flight. I believe it was a red eye, probably like 5, 6 in the morning. And as I'm online, I'm chilling, you know what I mean? Headphones on, and got my bag, and I'm waiting in line. I turn around, just peeping the sight, see what's going on around me, my awareness. And I look behind me, and Lou Williams is standing there. Now, at first, I was bugging, so I turned around, you know what I mean? I wasn't trying to fan out and all that and just go crazy, but I was saying to myself, am I bugging? Right? You know how you know when you see a celebrity or an athlete or someone and you know it's them, but you're just not sure. You're not 100% sure. So I turned around again and I looked at him, and this time we made eye contact. And I turned back around and I was like, damn, that is really Lou Williams behind me. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to annoy him. I'm not going to bother him. But I just wanted to make sure, like, I'm not tripping. I'm like, yo, I turn around and say, hey, bro, is you Lou Williams? He's like, yeah, bro. I said, oh, that's what's up, bro. All right. Gave me that, turned around, got on our flight, and that was it. Real smooth cat. You could tell he was tired. It's early morning. Me, personally, I'm not a morning person either. So I wasn't trying to talk all that much. He wasn't trying to talk all that much. We got on the flight, man, and we got to our destination. And it was just to encounter him and realize he's just a cool cat, not caught up in the celebrity. And it was crazy because like that encounter was so regular, right? Like I've been around other stars where it's been hoopla, right? But him, it was just a regular interaction with another man. So shout out to Lou Williams, man. Shout out to a phenomenal career, a phenomenal time span of 17 years in the league, of all the damage you've done, all the buckets you've given out, man. I salute you. Go out, man, and go out there and now in the rest of the world and dominate in life. Man, as a matter of fact, yo, Lou, start a podcast, man. You know what I mean? Start a podcast so we can hear some of your stories, bro. I've seen you on other podcasts out there and you're doing your thing, man. But create your own, man. I want to see you on your own platform and see what you got going on out here in the world, bro. Appreciate you. Now, let's talk about some sad news of the NBA really quick before we get to the topic at hand. Our guy John Morant. John Morant is suspended for 25 games, y'all. 25 games. Now, I'm not one to really get into people's money and all that, but 25 games in the NBA is a lot of money that he's losing out on, right? We're not even going to talk about all the sponsorships and all the deals that he lost. He's losing the core money now, the on-floor money, the money he gets per game. And if for those of you who don't know, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. He has 25 games, and from what the report states, that they're going to be other stipulations that he must commit and agree and fulfill before he gets back on the court, even with those 25 games. So this is a pretty steep penalty, right? To some, it may sound like, oh, it's 25 games. It's a substantial amount of money he's losing. And as well as you don't get this time back, right? Like you don't get this time that we're sitting in back. So the time that he's going to miss on that court, granted, he's not going to lose out on his ability, right, to be on the court and play and all that. But he's going to lose those 25 games, and those 25 games he can't get back. And just listening to the veterans, right, that they talk now on the podcast from AI and all the rest of the greats, they'll tell you like, yo, when they had to sit out those games and they thought it was nothing then, looking back in hindsight, they realized, man, that hurt a lot, man, missing those games. Because this is the game that we love, right? Like the game of basketball is the game that these men love. And to play at this level is a blessing, and it's something that you got to cherish. And majority of the men in the league, if not all of them, understand that. So, Ja, man, I said on other platforms before, bro, and I'm gonna say it again now here on my platform. You got to be careful, and this is a message for all the other young men out there who are potentially going into the league or just putting yourself in the position to be great in life, right? Once you get into that position in life, you have to realize that you're not the average man anymore. And you have to guard yourself and your future with extreme caution, meaning you have to really, really watch who you hang around with, your behaviors, and how they carry themselves. Now, I wish I had the video up so I can queued up so I can show it. But in the last video that John Morant got caught with a gun. Now, let's be clear about this, guys. John Morant having a handgun is not illegal. Let's say that right now. That man having a gun, a firearm, is not illegal. But the manner in which he's acting and the things he's doing with the firearm and how he's showing himself to the world is where the issue is. He's a business. You're a business, right? You cannot be out here pretending to be a regular individual. You're not a regular individual anymore. You are the face of the Memphis Grizzlies, which is a part of the National Basketball Association. You are a face of the league. So you have to operate that way. And my man Gilbert Arenas said on a podcast that he was on recently, I believe he was talking and he was saying that John Morant needs an Allen Iverson to come in and talk to him, because no one else could really be able to speak to him about being at that level and teaching him how to carry himself accordingly. It takes someone who was at that level to be able to give him the knowledge and information he needs to be able to operate and flow to keep his wealth flowing the way it is. And that's just the truth, man. This is why I say all the time, every young man needs a mentor. All of us need coaches because you don't know what you don't know. And especially when you're in a position in life you've never been in before, it's smart to have someone in your corner to tell you, hey, listen, you might not be doing it this way. You might want to try it this way. I really hope that for what it's worth, that someone like AI or someone, right, that of that stature can go and holler at him, man. Just give him some game, put him on. Because one thing I realized about watching that video, like I meant to say, I'm going to come back to this, is that if you watch that video, they were in the car and the person that was holding the camera had the camera on Ja when he didn't have the gun in his hand, right? It was all good. He had it on himself. It was all good. Now, in the middle of him having the camera on himself, he turned over to look at Ja, right? And when he saw Ja, he looked at him again. And then he seen that he had a gun in his hand. This is where I say that this young man is not his friend, or either he doesn't know any better. And I'm going to go on the side of saying that he's just not his friend and not a good person to be around, because you know that Ja just got in trouble. What he did was he looked over and seen that Ja had a gun in his hand and flashed the live, right? He took the camera and flashed it and turned it around and put it down real quick. Now, what we have to understand and realize, especially you young guys, that you can't just take a camera and flash it and think that no one can slow it down or freeze frame it and catch what you did in that split second. That's how they catch people on cameras, ring cameras, and all other nonsense. So it really wasn't too bright. And the fact that he just got out of a situation, this is why I'm saying, yo, we got to do a better job of choosing who we're around, choosing our friends wisely, because this young man here potentially cost Ja 25 games, and who else knows what else is down the line per his punishment. Note to you young fellas out there, man, guard yourself wisely. Be careful who you hanging around with, be careful who you associating with, and be careful who you calling your friends, man. Now, let's get to the main topic. The topic at hand tonight, y'all, is when your best is never enough. Now, over the last couple of weeks, I've come in contact with a bunch of new men, right, that are really phenomenal individuals that pride themselves in doing what they need to do for their families and just being the providers and the rocks that they need to be. And I really, really salute those men. And you know who you are out there, Kings. But I needed to have this conversation because the statement was brought to me, what do you do when enough is never enough? And when the question was presented to me, I had to really sit there and think about that for a second. I had to say to myself, oh man, what does that feel like? When you've given all you have, you've exhausted yourself to the limit and to the max, and just to realize it's not enough. I said to myself, that has to feel depleting. It really struck me. So I said to myself, I got to really dive into this, because this is one of the things that could cause someone to go over the deep end, y'all. We need to be careful as men, as husbands, as fathers, as leaders, that we are, like I said earlier in the show, protecting ourselves from things of this nature where we'll find ourselves crashing out, lashing out, or doing something that we'll regret later on down the road. As I began to talk to one of the gentlemen, and he said, man, it's never enough, man. What I do is never enough. So I had to ask him, and I want to ask you, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're feeling like, man, it's never enough, who is it never enough for? Because, and I've done my homework and research on this, is that a lot of times when we say things as men, and we put things in this general way of speaking, we stay on this real surface level. And there's no real change, right? There's no real transformation, and honestly, no real transparency in our conversation until we get to that next level, right? We get below that surface level. And the way we get to that below the surface level is that we take that general statement and we begin to narrow it in. So when I was talking to this gentleman, he said, it's never enough for the people I love the most. Now, we took it from one generality and we brought it down smaller, but we're still pretty general, right? Because we love a lot of people in our lives, mother, father, sister, brother, etc. But I really want to get down to the bottom and the root of things, so we have to go a little deeper. So I asked him, I said, who specifically is your best not enough for? And he began to say he said, and he's from the country, his old lady, meaning his wife, and his children. And I want to say, as a husband and a father, man, like, my heart went out to him, because I'm blessed to have a wife and children who truly cherish me, who truly honor me, who truly care and respect and all those good things. They truly love and adore me. Not saying that his family doesn't anything of that sort, but I'm just blessed to know and feel the appreciation that my kids and my wife have for me. I can't imagine feeling like I've given my all, right? I can't imagine feeling like I've given all that I have to provide for them and give that I have, to provide the life that I feel like that I can for them, and not be enough for them. So I begin to talk to him and I say, what makes you feel that way? Like, what makes you feel like your best is not enough for them? Had they flat out told you it wasn't enough? He goes, well, no, they haven't really said that. I feel like some of their actions and behaviors that way. I said, And now one of the most important questions that I asked him, I'm going to ask you as a viewer as well. If you feel like your best is not enough, do you feel that way? If you feel that someone else is feeling that way, do you feel that your best is not enough? Right? Do you feel like what you've given is not enough? And his answer was, no, I'm doing the best that I can, as I'm assuming yours is as well. You're doing the best that you can with what you have, with what you know, and where you are currently. And if you feel that way, like I told him, I said, bro, if you feel that you're doing the best that you can, that's all that really matters. See, we have to get out of this space of someone else's opinion matters more about us than ours does about us. This is what confidence is built on. Confidence is built on how you feel about you. It's not predicated on how someone else feels about you. And when I began to say this to him, it began to lift his spirit, because one thing that I realized that us fatherless fathers go through is that majority of our lives, we were dominated by our mothers, right? A really strong, dominant mother that pushed us and did the best she could to raise us to be the men that we are today. But one thing I know about us is that we struggle with our ability to put what our wives think about us in its proper space in our lives. Because men who aren't fathers, when we get older, we put our women in the position where we placed our mother. And in no actuality, that position that we placed our mother in is a real volatile position, because she's playing the position of a man and a woman at the same time. And I'm speaking from experience, because me, myself, personally, I had a situation between me and my wife years ago that we had a fallout because I expected her to be like my mother, not understanding that she's not going to be that way because I'm here. My mother was the way she was because my father wasn't in the home. So she had to be 2 in 1. She tried to do her best to be both, where my wife doesn't have to do that because I'm here. I'm in my position. So going back to the topic, I had to get back to the gentleman and say to him, my God, what you have to realize is that as long as you know that you're doing your best, and I had to stop here and really emphasize, ask him, bro, are you really doing your best? Because come on, fellas, you know, like I know, we can say we're doing our best, but we know that there's a little bit more in our tank sometimes, right? Let's have a vulnerable and transparent moment right now. We know there are times where we said we're doing our best, but we still got gas in the tank. We still got more in the reserve that we know we should give, but for whatever reason, we just don't. Now, if that's the case, then yeah, go a little harder next time, because that right there could be a conflict as well. Let's stop there and deal with this right here, because I didn't think about this point until and right now me saying this. If you're not giving your all and you're saying you're giving your all, there's an internal conflict. And that could be why you're walking around the house aggravated, upset, pissed off all the time, not present. It's because you got an internal conflict going on. You know you could be doing more than you're doing. And that's what's causing the kickback and the drawback and the chaos all around you, because you're not giving all you can give. You're not doing all you can do. And if that's the case, listen, bro, I'm not here to rain down on you. I'm here to inspire you and encourage you. Get up and do more. Give it your all. Because when you do give it your all, the feeling you have, you will no longer have. The feeling of, a little anxiety, little hesitation, that comes because you're not giving it your all. Give it your all and look for the results. Because I guarantee you, things around you will begin to change once you truly begin to give your all. But let's go back to the topic of hand. If you're doing your all, if you're giving your all, and it's still not enough, you got to understand a few things, right? And I'm going to break those things down. If you are not satisfied with what you're doing, no one else is going to be satisfied. So if you're giving your best and you know you're giving your best and you're not satisfied, that just means you're not giving yourself grace and space. That means you're just being flat out too hard on yourself. There are some men out there who are literally doing the best that they can. And yes, the best that they can do right now is not up to par in their own mindset. But what you got to do, King, is give yourself some grace and space to realize, like, yo, this is the best I can do right now. But if you keep doing what you're doing, that will increase your capacity. That will increase your chances for success. So all you have to do is be consistent and don't just keep looking at the task at hand. look at the reason why you're doing the task. Don't forget your why, because that'll help you get through those tough times. Now, let me tell you something about basing your confidence or your self-approval on anything or anyone outside of yourself. The reason why this man, and probably some of the men that's going to check this podcast out, has issues with people feeling like them giving their all is not enough is because they're basing their worth and their value on someone else's opinion or feelings about them. You're basing how confident or how much you believe in yourself based upon how someone else feels, thinks about you. Now, let me break this down the way I broke it down to the other young man. You cannot have your confidence based on anything outside of you, period. You can't have your confidence level based on anything outside of yourself. I'm going to explain why. How someone feels about you is only predicated on their current mood, experience, circumstance, or situation. It has nothing to do with you. Here goes an example. Let's just say your job, for example. On Monday morning, you go to work. You go to your boss, you know it's review time, and you just want to get a little heads up about where your boss head is at with you, about your performance and all these things. So you go in there, you ask him, hey boss, how do you feel about my performance being an asset here at the company? How do you feel about me? And before Monday, on Sunday night, the boss had a phenomenal steak dinner on his yacht with all his family members that came in from all across the world. He had a phenomenal experience with his children. Let's just say graduating college. His wife had a phenomenal, him and his wife had an outstanding night out on the town. They capped it off with a nightcap and a wild, extravagant night of sex throughout the night. He came to work Monday morning in a phenomenal mood and spirit. So when you asked him, yo, what do you feel about me as an employee of the company? He's like, oh man, you know what, bro? You are a tremendous asset. As a matter of fact, I've been meaning to give you a raise. You have been doing such a phenomenal job around here. Man, I see you busting your butt. You're making things happen. You're taking charge. You're becoming a leader here. I see your influence on the guys on the floor around you. I'm extremely blessed to have you as an employee here at my company. And you know what? It's a privilege and an honor to be called your boss. You walk out of there, boy, you feel like the man. You walk out of there damn near high-fiving other employees. You doing your thing. You feeling really, really good about yourself. You go home, on the way home, you call your moms, your peoples, yo, listen, I'm about to be a manager. I'm about to get a raise. They about to promote me. You go on your social media, you talking big. Yo, listen, I'm out here doing it. Y'all can't see me. I'm getting raises out here. My management feeling me. I'm new things, big things coming. You know how we do on social media when we feeling ourselves. Come on now. Don't do me like that. Y'all know damn well how y'all be acting when y'all get these new raises and promotions and all these things, and how excited we are to go on the gram and talk about it. But yo, check this out. What happens the very next day after you go home, you had your phenomenal dinner, you told your wife, you told your kids are happy, they're excited, they had a great day in school, they're jumping around, you have a phenomenal night, you have a great dinner with the wife and the kids go to bed, you have phenomenal, great sex with your wife, and the next day you go to work and you ask the same boss who gave you all those praises yesterday to reiterate how he feels about your performance, just and giggles, right? You want to hear it again. And what you didn't know is last night when you left and had a phenomenal night, he left and found out that his son lied to him for 4 years straight. All this time he was paying money for college. He was just paying money for his son's drug addiction. And he just found out his son wasn't going to school all this time. And now he has a full-blown drug addiction that he has to help his son fight. He also finds out that his daughter is now pregnant by a guy that he told his daughter do not date, and talking about she's leaving home and moving in with him. On top of that, come to find out his wife now is upset about, he made a major purchase years ago and he didn't run and buy her. Now she's all on his case because she's having a bad day for whatever reason. Now you don't know all of that, but you ask the boss who praised you the day before for some reiteration of those same praises, and you ask him, yo, so how am I doing again, boss? How you doing today? Man, listen, he goes off on this new tangent. Bro, listen, as a matter of fact, I've been meaning to tell you about, I'm tired of seeing you coming in late. Every time I turn around, you're coming in late from you're in the morning, coming in late from your breaks, and all you're doing is talking, you're distracting other employees on the floor. I'm going to have to change how you approach the job. I'm not appreciating your attire. Your hair is a mess today. And you're saying to yourself, after you walk out of this meeting with him, man, your spirits are down, and you're saying to yourself, damn, what happened? Just yesterday, he was singing my praises. And today, this, now you find yourself in an emotional tizzy. Now you're sad, you're upset, you don't like the job. Now you want to find a new job. Now you go home. Now your family is going to deal with your energy that you have now. So now the kids, everything the kids do now is going to annoy you. Your wife now, just her caring about what's wrong with you is going to piss you off. And you're going to be in this tizzy. All because his experience was different from one day to the next, because you never changed in that 24-hour span of him praising you on one day and him destroying you on the next day. You didn't change. Nothing about you changed. The only thing changed in the situation was his experience. And this is why I say we can't have anything outside of us dictate how we feel about us. Nothing external to you should be able to cause you to feel any kind of way about yourself. Nothing. No person, no place, no thing, no situation or circumstance should have the power or the ability to make you feel any kind of way negative about yourself. Period, point blank. No one should have that kind of power over you at all. It's seriously that serious. No one should have that kind of power. Now, I had a whole bunch more that I was going to dive into, but I'm going to cut it short. And I'm just going to give you the overview of it, because a lot of what's going on in our heads about ourselves as men comes from the unrealistic expectations that the world has on our masculinity, on who we are as men. The unrealistic the thoughts and the thought process and the belief system that the people have about us as men cause us to find ourselves in circumstances and situations where we're taking what society says that we are, what we should be, and we're trying to conform ourselves to it, and it's driving ourselves flat out crazy. And some of us to the point where we don't even want to be here anymore, ending our lives because we don't meet up to the societal's criteria of what a man should be, or what our masculinity should entail. But I'm here today to debunk all of that and really, really set some of that straight. But like I said, I don't have too much time because we're coming down to the time limit, and I don't want to go over. I want to respect your time so you can get back to your lives and do what you must do. But before we go, I want to talk about the few things that the society has asked us to do, and they think that we should be doing as men, and they try to make our norm, but it truly isn't our norm, and it's truly unhealthy for us and anyone that's around us. Number one, emotional suppression. We as men tend to expect, the society around us tends to expect us to suppress or hide the emotions, good or bad. We're expected to exhibit traits of strength and stoicism and emotional intelligence at all times. That's unrealistic. I don't care how stoic, I don't care how manly you are, I don't care how much masculinity you have or how masculine you are. I don't care. You cannot be or suppress your emotions or hide your emotions all the time. First of all, you shouldn't be suppressing your emotions at all. That your emotions should be controlled, right? I'm not saying you should be walking around here an emotional mess as a man. By no means, no. What I am saying is you should not be walking around here suppressing your emotions and your feelings just to make someone else comfortable around you, or to make the people in society at ease with your presence. No. That should not be the case. You should be able to express yourself as a man clearly, precisely, and effectively while maintaining your control. Now, there are some times where you'll lose control. I'm not saying that you won't. I'm one that will tell you firsthand, I'm not perfect. There are times I mess up, but I'm okay with the times that I mess up because I know that I don't have to be perfect. That's the thing. You need to give yourself permission that you don't have to be perfect. Give yourself permission, King, to make a mistake. Give yourself that permission, because you are allowed. You are allowed not to be perfect, bro. You don't have to be the man that everyone that looks up to all the time. You don't have to be this stoic figure of masculinity that everyone just praises and looks up to because you never have a hair out of place or you're never frazzled or any of those things. No, you're a person. You're an individual. You're a human being before you're a man. And it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to exhibit those emotions under control, though. Next, the provider role extraordinaire. Now, listen, by no means am I a millionaire. Heck, I'm a thousandaire, right? Like I'm not even close to being a millionaire right now. And until I realized that I was not competing with social media, I felt like what I was doing as a husband, father, and leader wasn't enough. Regardless of the people who are pleasantly pleased what I'm giving them, they're extremely happy with what I'm giving. But here I am, depressed, down on myself, feeling low because I'm competing and trying to be this provider extraordinaire that I see on the internet. This man that provides 100% for his whole household and him and his wife don't go 50% and all this other stuff. But the truth of the matter is, that's not my story. That's not my journey. I'm not in a position yet where I can just pay everything all to myself. When I get to that position, I will be gladly to do it. As a man, absolutely. But does it make me less of a man because I'm splitting the responsibilities with my wife? By no means is that true. And anyone who says anything different, holler at me in the comments. Or pull up on my Instagram, holler at me, and we can talk about it. Or come on a platform, we can talk about it. Because just because the predicament that I'm in now financially doesn't take away from everything else that I provide in the household. So because I'm not bringing $500,000 into the home, I haven't reached that $1 million mark yet, doesn't mean I'm not a good father. Doesn't mean that I'm not a phenomenal husband. Doesn't mean that I'm not a tremendous leader. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that I haven't got all the money that's due to me yet. I haven't collected it all yet. And that's okay. But what's not okay is that us men are out here trying to compete with the internet, which is a bunch of frauds once you really get to know them in real life. Because trust me, I've met some phenomenal individuals, and behind the scenes of these phenomenal individuals, they're regular men just like me and you, bro. Just like me and you. So stop thinking that you got to compete and be this provider extraordinaire. Just be extraordinary in the things that you are providing. How about that? Next, physically strong, tough, and aggressive. Now, yes, I do think that we as men should have some level of physical strength, because I do believe that we should be able to defend ourselves, our family, protect ourselves and our family. But I also understand that there's a brand of men out there who aren't very physical, who aren't very physically strong. And because you are not that, I want you to also know that that doesn't make you less of a man. Just because you're not physically dominant as other men are, that doesn't take away from your masculinity, right? Muscles don't equal masculinity. The size or the brute strength that you have doesn't dictate your masculinity. And I had one of my young boys say that he feels intimidated when he sees men with big beards, right? Because he hasn't really grown his facial hair in and things of that nature. But the truth of the matter is, man, the hair on your face, the hair on your chest, the muscles on your body, none of that really encapsulates all of what masculinity is. Masculinity isn't just hair, placement of hair on your body. It's not just the size of muscles. It's not just your level of toughness or roughness. It's a part of it, but it's a very small part of it. And what we have to realize and understand is that just because we don't add up to what the sum of the world said that we should be as men, we still have just as much masculinity to us and manhood to ourselves as someone else, right? Your value of who you are and the value you possess is not predicated on your body, because there's a lot of men out there who are skinny as toothpicks, can't pick up a 25-pound weight, but they have the mental capacity to think circles around 20 men, because that's their gift. So operate in your gift. Don't be so caught up in competing with the world and the nonsense that they're putting up on social media, because like I said before, a lot of it is cap, bro. Don't be out here trying to compare your real life with someone's real life. Meaning someone's REEL life should not be compared to your REAL life. You dig? So next, as we keep moving, unwavering confidence all the time. Now listen, by no means is that true either. None of us are confident all the time. Unwavering confidence at that. So the truth is, there's times where all of us in our lives, we second guess things. We doubt some things. Some of our insecurities may get in the way. That's life. That's the part of the process. And there are some men who are better at doing that and operating in their insecurities and doing all those things better than others. But what you don't have to do is pretend that things don't bother you. Pretend that things don't worry you. Now, what you should be doing is working on those things, not running from them, but leaning into them to learn more about yourself and see more of your weaknesses and see where you can better yourself and strengthen those weaknesses. That's what you should be doing. But what I'm telling you is you don't have to pretend that you're confident all the time and you're just this man that's never fazed by anything because the world says you have to be that way. Because the truth of the matter is, every door that closes and a man gets behind it, at some point in time, he's crying. At some point in time, he's not the man he's presenting to the world. Because all of us has to deal with that little boy inside of us that has some of those issues that we didn't deal with. All of us. None of us are exempt. From the greatest of men to whoever you think that greatest man in your eye is, down to the lowest man that you look down upon. Every last one of us has insecurities that at some point show their ugly head and give us a run for our money. That shakes our confidence a little bit, that causes us to doubt a little bit. But that does not negate that we still are masculine and strong men. We are men. That doesn't change that, regardless of what society says. Now, the last two, limited expression of self. Now, I have come in contact with a lot of men over the last 10 years of my life, and I've heard a lot of different perspectives about how a man should carry himself. And what's funny to me is that the men who concern themselves with how other men carry themselves have the most insecurities and identity issues of the bunch. Because what you can't do is think that because you do something, everyone else has to do it, right? Or because you don't do something, that no one else should be doing it. So, for instance, I know men who love flowers, right? Who love the arts, who would love to go sit in a ballet or love to go to a museum, enjoy some beautiful art and all these things. I know some phenomenal kings that love these things. But I also know the other side, that there's some men out there in the world who clown those kind of men, that look down upon that. Oh, that's not masculine, that's not manly. But the truth of the matter is, if that's how that person wants to express himself, what's the problem? And one thing I've realized too, because when I push back on certain thought processes, right, and certain belief systems, when I began to challenge them, I realized if I challenge the right belief system and right thought process, it'll cause the person to either to reconsider their thought or get angry. Because I asked a gentleman one time, I said, yo, what about a man is soft that likes flowers, right? Because he was like, well, yeah, men who like flowers are soft. And I think to myself, like, but why? Why do you feel like because if a man likes a flower, he's soft? Right? Like he's less than you as a man because he likes the beauty of this flower. And the only thing he was able to come back to me with was some rhetoric, some nonsense that he heard his whole entire life. Oh, men don't like flowers. If you like flowers, you're soft. That's for girls. Well, listen, if you do your history, read your history, some of the greatest warriors of our times love flowers, love the ballet, a lot of things that we wouldn't consider manly. A lot of men, great men of our time, indulged in and enjoyed thoroughly. So, King, if you're a man out there that's worried about expressing yourself, expressing your masculinity through any vein, through any lane, don't stop worrying about what someone else thinks of you, because what you think of you is what matters most. Now, yes, you could be an individual where someone else's thought process matters. Now, I'm not saying that you're wrong for that, because it's true. Some people do care what other people think. Now, me personally, I do care what some people think. Not all people, but some people in my circle. If someone has a certain kind of thought about me, I care about it. But will I let it bother me? Would I let that thought process stop me? I used to, but not anymore, because I'm completely comfortable now with expressing myself, who I am. I'm completely completely okay with that. Regardless of who isn't okay with it, I'm okay with it, because what matters to me most and first and foremost is how I feel about me. And that's the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. So I'm going to get up out of here now, because I've went over my time. And I'm doing my best to follow the guidelines, right? And follow the structure. So I said a lot today. I really hope it resonated. And I really hope you understand that until you are okay with the effort that you're putting out, until you are okay with you, nothing you do will be okay or enough for no one else. Nothing. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. Until you're okay with the effort, until you're okay with you and what you bring to the table, no one else is going to be satisfied with it. That's just a hardcore truth. Now, this is the part of the show that I'm implementing, and I thought to myself that I really should be doing now. My daughter is 7 years old, and my son is soon to be 6. Excuse me, he's 5, soon to be 6. And I think it was important to start doing this now, because the real reason that I created this podcast is because not only the money and the things that I'm going to leave and the properties and all things I'm going to leave for my children are important. These videos, I realize, are going to be monumental in their lives, because one thing I don't have right now, I don't have video, I don't have audio, I barely have pictures of what my grandfather looked like, his mannerisms, the way he carried himself, how, you know what I'm saying, how he carries himself as a man. I don't have any of those things to see, to hold, to behold. And I realized that me doing this podcast, God willing, the internet is not going anywhere, YouTube is not going anywhere, podcasting isn't going anywhere for years to come. I realized that this is going to be a way for me to leave notes, leave conversations, leave my spirit behind when I'm no longer here. So this segment of the podcast, I'm going to do at the end of every segment, to where I simply just take this time to talk to my children. So Imani, you're 7 years old right now, baby girl. And over the last 7 years, you have taught me so much. You taught me so much about myself, about kind of the man that I am, the kind of man that I used to be, and the kind of the man that I'm longing to be now that you're in my life. And by the time you get to hear this, and this really matter to you, and it makes sense to you, you're going to be a teenager into your work, going into your womanhood. And I pray that you understand that no matter what life gives you, or no matter what comes your way, that your father loves you, and I'm here for you. Even if I'm not here in person, I want you to know that you have the power within you to do whatever you decide you want to do with your life. I don't know what kind of things you're going to take on, or what endeavors you're going to embark on, but I know that just like every tree is inside of the seed, your success is already planted within inside of you. So you won't have to look outside of yourself. Just look inside of yourself for the answers. And you, my son Josiah, man, at this age of stage right now where you at, you are giving me all these gray hairs in my beard, in my head, and other places. But once again, when you get to the age where this video matters to you and makes sense to you, you're going to be in the space of your life where you're going to be finding out new things. You're going to be trying new things. You're going to be exploring new things. And I just want to let you know, no matter what you explore, no matter what your decisions are, your choices in life, like I said to your sister, whether I'm here or I'm not, I'm with you. I got your back. And everything that I'm going to do up until the day that I'm no longer here will be to prepare you for the days that I'm not here. So, Joe, I love you. Understand that you are the man. You have everything that you need inside of you as well. The success that you're looking for is planted inside of you, young king. So to you, my children, I love y'all. And I'll talk to y'all next episode. And as you can hear yourself. Yes, Bobby, that is still working. Thank you, baby. There y'all go. All right. And now for my closing thoughts, which I kind of just did give y'all before a word to my kids, is that stop giving. Oh, I'm sorry. I have 2 points for my closing thoughts today. My first closing thought is, like I said earlier, I kind of mentioned it before I did the word to my kids, was no matter how much you give to someone, if you don't first give to yourself and satisfy yourself with what you give to yourself, no matter what you give to someone else, it will never be enough. Learn to please and satisfy yourself first. Give to you, because it's impossible to pour from an empty vessel. Make sure you're consistently filling yourself up, getting around individuals who pouring into you. Do the best you can to find yourself in circles and situations that pour into you, because it will be the best choice that you made for your present and your future going forward. So stop worrying about pleasing others and learn to please yourself. Now, my second thought and my last thought before I get up out of here, and I want to say this directly to the camera. This goes out to the fathers and the mothers. Please stop giving your children fears for no reason. Stop planting fears into your children because of your unresolved traumas. Now, what are you saying, RJ? Great question. Let me explain. See, I've heard so many people tell their children, oh, be careful because kids are mean, kids are nasty, kids are cruel. And I had to really check that statement out. I had to really check that statement out closer. And the closer I looked at that statement, I began to realize that the parents who are saying that are only saying that kids are mean out of trauma that they did not resolve. Now, kids are not mean. Kids are not cruel. Kids are not ruthless. Kids are just flat out kids, right? They are the rawest form of human that there is, meaning they aren't tainted by this skewed projections and outlooks that the world has for us as we get older and become adults. But we as children, and most of us, we go through our childhood without having the proper parenting, and we go out into the world and we're being made fun of at the school cafeteria table or on a lunch line or somewhere else, and we're being clowned by our friends and joked on, and we're not prepared for it. So we now embody that as trauma, right? Because what we should have been doing was having our sons and our daughters being prepared, right? Letting them know that, listen, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna be made fun of. People are gonna laugh at you. They're gonna joke with you. You gotta be prepared for it. See, the problem was we weren't prepared to go out there in the real world and take that. So when we went out there in the real world, we got laughed at and joked on and clowned on. We took it and we internalized it, and now it's a trauma in our lives that we haven't dealt with. And now we're pushing our children back out into the world, telling them that, oh, be careful, other children are mean and cruel. But the truth of the matter is kids are just kids. So please, y'all, do your children a favor. Resolve your traumas. Kids are not horrible. They just clowned you when you was a kid about your freckles, about your hair, about your buck teeth, about your braces, about your knock knees, and you just wasn't prepared for it. So instead of sending your children out the same way you went out, prepare them. Let them know these things are coming. Hell, show them what the dozens is. You know what I'm saying? If they're the only child, please, because they're going to go out into a world unprepared and experience the same thing that you experienced, and you do not have to set them up for that same experience. So with that being said, man, I'm 18 minutes over my allotted time, man, but I hope that I poured some value into this episode. And I pray that you guys continue to like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast and get it out there, man, because trust me, from this point forward, I am not going anywhere. I will be continually giving you a dope podcast to step to each and every week. So once again, do your boy a favor, like, comment, and share, as well as subscribe to this phenomenal platform. And until the next time I see you, fathers, don't forget this. To the world, you're just a dad. That's all. But to your family, you are the world. Don't you forget that. And until the next time I see you, be good to yourself and the ones around you. And if you can't be good to the ones around you, that's okay. Just get those people from around you. Yo, this is RjD the Imperfect Gentleman. And this has been another dope episode of the Imperfect Fathers Podcast. Y'all be blessed, because I will. Peace, y'all.
RjD.com